Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we have Jessica, the one and only Jessica in the world, right?
In Camilla Beach.
And we're going to talk dating apps today. We've talked dating apps before, but it's something that's such a big, broad topic that's very common. A lot of people are interested in it. I thought we'd talk about it again. And any questions, any responses to your dating app experiences, please put them in the comments below and we'll get to them. If you like this video, throw me a like. If you don't like this video, it's better to have an opinion. If you want to book a live coaching session with me, go to writemac.com. And if you want to subscribe, you know to hit the red button. I will have live streams every day this week. They are posted on Instagram at Coach Mac McCarthy. Dating apps. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. I don't have a lot of experience with them. Jessica's quite experienced with them. She's gone fishing quite a bit on them. Would you say, first question I'd ask, saying your connection's unstable, I hope that doesn't continue. So would you say that it's easier for women to get dates on dating apps than for men? Because this is something I hear from men a lot. Oh, a woman can just put up their picture and get 100 requests.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh. I would say that it's fairly easy for a woman to get a date.
The question is quality.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. If you have a match and you want to meet up with one of those people, it's pretty much like a 9 out of 10. If you're in the same town or city, wherever, that probably, the guy's going to want to meet up.
And so,
but what is that based off of? Like, guys are saying that girls are pickier?
No, guys are just, and I would say it's probably true too, is if I go on a dating app and I put my picture up.
Yeah.
And do what I need to do, right? I might get some interest, right? But if a woman puts up her picture, there's more guys that would inquire on a dating app that are just throwing darts in the wind, like, oh, will she respond? Where a woman, I think, is a little more selective on who she would like. You, like, in other words, Leandra, how you doing, hun? Good to see you on. Just let me know how the sound is for you. I always want to check the mic when there's two people on. She said, Tinder scares me. It depends on the quality of the apps.
See, this is the general consensus. Tinder has a reputation.
Tinder was the first one? Not really.
Well,
Match.com.
What was that one about fishing? There's something about fishing.
Oh, Plenty of Fish.
Plenty of Fish. But that was...
People have sent me stories and they're like POF, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. But that was computer. It wasn't on mobile device.
I just think of Match.com having really cheesy commercials.
Yeah, like heart. Love.
Really cheesy commercials and right. Tinder was like hardcore cool. Do you want to hook up tonight?
Tinder must have been the first mobile app.
But Tinder, to me, the first time it was introduced to me, it was from, I'm 39. I don't consider myself old. People in their early 20s were like, they were just like, look at this. And I was like, what is that? And they're like, and they were just so excited about it, open and finding and meeting people. And so Tinder's become a place where people look at it as a hookup.
Yeah.
But there are people that can meet on there.
Yep.
Hookup. I'm one of those that believes that you could have a one-night stand, or you hook up with someone, you meet them the first time, and it could be your girlfriend. I think that that's fine.
Sure.
I had a family member before. It was funny, extended family member before, and we were at the wedding, and his sister was like, could you believe that it was a one-night stand? And I'm like, are you going to tell everyone that?
Well, that's how.
And I was like, it obviously wasn't a one-night stand. She's like, well, they met in a bar, and they just hooked up, and now they're married. I'm like, that can happen. That's not ridiculous.
That's pre-Tinder era.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that there's a reputation built on this, but what people don't think about, and I talk about it a lot, not from dating apps, but your environment counts. Where are you fishing? So you're going fishing, your bait's your picture, and a couple of things. Is there any apps where you can leave a voice message or a video? I think I asked this before. Because I think that would make a difference.
I'm not sure. I don't know on Tinder what you can do because I have deleted the app since. But I never did that. I wanted to look in Hinge and see what was there.
But the thing about, I think what happens with a dating app is, depending on your early experience with it, I think for women, it's much more, should I say dangerous? I mean, that you're meeting a guy as a woman, you have a choice of where you're going to meet that guy. And I think you've mentioned this before, that there's some guys that are like, come to my house.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, can we meet at a coffee shop? And you're like,
and then they unliked me. They wanted to come over to my house, and I was like, whoa, like, can't we have a coffee first? They didn't respond, and I went back in to see, like, oh, well, did they see my message? And they weren't there anymore. So it's
like, I would be open if you put in a little bit of work.
Yeah, they were not interested in any pre-communication. It was like, come over, have sex, and leave, I guess.
That's the way you took it, because they wanted to come to your house?
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, let's just go to the coffee shop over here. And they were like, no, I guess they weren't into it. So they
So when you have an experience like that, do you go like, oh, these dating apps are all like this, these guys are all like this? Or do you have an experience where you're like, oh, I did meet a cool guy? Being that you've been someone that's lived in Toronto, you lived in Paris. Paris have dating apps when you were there?
Mm-hmm. That's when I first started to use Tinder.
So did you find a difference being in different environments using it?
I didn't actually use Tinder once in Toronto. I had it, but I never.
Because you were meeting so many good-looking guys?
Not so many good-looking guys, but I actually went out on dates through people that I had met through friends, and who that kind of like brought in my social circle. Like, I had a lot of friends from university. And most of them were living there, and then going to meet up with them. I then met their circle of friends that I didn't know previous, because we had so many years in between. But in Toronto, I don't think I met one person while I was there. And then here in Phuket, I've met a few people.
You mean when you say you haven't met one person, you mean on the dating app?
On the dating app.
Did you have your name up on one?
Yeah, I had Tinder the whole time, but I didn't actually.
No one even approached you?
No, people approached. Like, I liked and approached people, but I didn't actually go forward. Like, I would need to open my app again and see, but I didn't meet anyone. And even in Paris, I met like.
Is that from you being picky?
That's because I was already busy doing other stuff. Like, I was.
So
someone would going out with people.
So someone would like you, and you might be interested. And you're like, yeah, I don't even want to.
Like, you need to like them first in order to see if they like you.
So you weren't actively liking.
I wasn't actively liking.
But you left your name up there.
I left my profile present. Like, people, if my profile was open, people could see it. But like, what I'm saying is that when I lived there, I had people approach me through my friends, and I went on dates, but I didn't meet them through the app, or I met people while I was out.
And it's funny because Toronto seems like, I've never been there before. It's a big city. A lot of people have good things to say about it. It seems like it would be a good place if you were using Tinder. You'd have more options.
Oh, there's tons of options. But what I'm saying is, you don't even need Tinder to have options. You just go out in the afternoon or in the evening, and there's tons of young people everywhere. Especially depends on the neighborhood you live in.
So it's good hunting grounds for you.
Yeah.
So if you were not like, I know this is about dating apps, but
yeah.
So if you just go out and there's tons of young people, as you quote, which can mean many things, you go out there and you're in the mood to meet someone.
Like, it's just in the afternoon or the evening. It's just like you go out to do something, run some errands.
So how do you put the vibe out that you're single and ready to mingle?
Well, it depends which environment you're in. Okay, if you're in a coffee shop, you're like, whatever. I go to coffee shops a lot. I love coffee shops, and Toronto has amazing coffee shops. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you go there and you just sit and you throw your eyes. You look at people, look around. People are pretty chatty too in Toronto. Like, whether you're hitting on someone or not, like, you're waiting in the queue to get coffee. You're friendly. You're talking to people.
I find that Canadians in California, when I'm back in California, people are more friendly.
Yeah, like, people are chatty.
Other places. And so being chatty though doesn't correlate to necessarily meeting someone.
Like, there's in the West End where I lived before, great part of the city. There are a lot of secondhand shops, and so like, I would always just walk down there, get a coffee, go and I'm like,
great place to find dates, secondhand shops.
No, seriously. So there were these two guys in there, and anyway, I was really not paying too much attention to them, but in the end, one of them came up and approached me.
What was his approach?
He was just like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like, he was pretty direct. Something like, oh, I noticed you. Like, da 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 da. I really want to ask you to go out. Like, do you want to go out and eat sometime? Like, can I get your number? It was just like that. And I was like, he was older, probably like
70.
No, he was like 37 or something like that. And I would have been 20, maybe 28 or 29. And so I was like, sure. We exchanged phone numbers and we went out. We had like an awesome afternoon, but in the end, I wasn't really into him that much.
Because attraction,
but we had fun. Like we went to this. He was kind of like an old hipster, so we went to a cool burger joint that was like a bit more like greasy.
Okay, so initially you liked his approach.
I liked his approach.
You immediately had a problem with his age because he's 10 years older. Because you had to clarify that. If he was 27, you wouldn't have said nothing. You were like, he's older.
If he was younger than me, I probably would have been like, oh, he was just too young.
So
but
you liked his approach because it was direct. You're willing to go on a date with him, but initial thing was like, I'm not that attracted to him. Because
I wasn't that attracted to him.
Because he was old or just his looks?
I guess it was his looks. Basically.
So if you weren't attracted,
I don't want to base it off of his looks solely. So I'm like, okay, let's go out.
So you weren't attracted to him, but you were still willing to go out and get a free hamburger.
I don't think I got a free hamburger, but I was willing to go out and meet the guy. Yeah.
Okay, so it was a trial.
It was a trial. Yeah, I mean, every date you go on.
Okay,
is a trial, whether you're attracted to them physically or not.
So you went out. You went out with an open mind. You go out with him. What was it about him that you think that dropped him down in your mind? Was it boring? Was it because you obviously went out on the date? Like, was it pure physical attraction that you were like, yeah, not really, or was there something he did during the date where you're like, ugh?
God, I have to think back. I don't remember specifically one thing, but I just remember that after it, I was like, I'm just not. If I'm not really, I don't know. It's just a feeling that you have. And
on the first date.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're into somebody, you know it instantly, right?
And would that be attraction based more?
I think it can be.
Especially in the beginning?
It can be.
So if you have a first date like that where you're like, like nothing was sparked, no juices.
Yeah. He lived out of the city. That kind of was like, I don't really want to do that. He was like, oh, you can come up to my place for the second date. And I was like, I don't really want to venture out there. So that might have been part of it.
So he didn't try to ask you out again?
He wanted me to go to his house.
For the second date?
And I didn't want to go. I can do this, like, fair enough.
Do you think he was trying too hard then?
I don't know if he was trying too hard. It's just maybe he thought I had more stronger feelings towards him than.
So what would have been a better approach if someone out there is going out with a woman and you're like, because it sounds like you're like, yeah, I wasn't attracted to him. Mm-hmm. I wasn't that into him, but I liked it. I liked the fact that he had some confidence. He had some things. I wouldn't have gone out on a date with him otherwise. What would have been a better approach? Would it have been like, hey, let's go to a museum next time? You would have been open to that? I would have been open to doing something out and about, not related to his house. That was more active? Yeah. I loved that he was in the secondhand shop. He was I liked that he was in it with his friends. We had this similar interest. I liked that he came over and approached me, like, just straight up, like, hey, I think you're cute. Do you want to go out? Okay. That was all very interesting to me. And I liked his style. Like, his clothes were cool. He wasn't bad looking, but I wasn't like looking at him being like, wow, this guy's super attractive. And yeah, so I think that come around to the second date, I would have been happy to go do something else. Something out and about. So that's what threw you off. The suggestion of going to his house, and then he didn't pivot off of that. He kept going like, my house, my house, my house. I don't remember how that. So if you're going to go on a dating app and someone sets up a date on the dating app, does it feel like she just took a deep breath right now? No, I got to switch my mind back to the dating app experiences. I do think that with the dating app thing, being that you just don't know the person, that because some people like they'll talk on the phone first, right, rather than just texting. Do you do that, or would you just make it? You just make a date through the text. Yeah, just make time. So So you meet someone through a dating app. You're meeting for the first time. Do you feel a little anxiety? Yeah. Because right when I said dating app, you literally went. So even the subject was like. There's definitely nerves present for sure. because just not knowing.
Yeah, there's a lot of not knowing. Like I guess if you've only ever had texting messages and you've never had a phone call or you've never had a video chat, which you can be like, oh, well, here's my whatever, let's have a video chat first. But I never did that. But I guess maybe that's more common now. And I guess that does make sense. So you don't really have a feel for who, or, you don't really know what it's going to feel like to meet that person outside of a chat room.
So I think we might have talked about this before, but what would you say your worst experience was on a dating app?
Yeah, I know that you did.
Did we unpack that before?
But I tried to remember if something really horrible. Oh no, it was that one.
The most recent one?
Yeah, the most recent one. That's right. I think we didn't. Did we? Because I feel like when you asked me that question last time,
Does anyone remember this that's on the live stream? Yeah.
I couldn't remember the worst experience, but that was definitely the worst experience.
We'll just go back over it because sometimes there's different people on the live stream, and we won't go on and on.
No,
but the worst situation was,
which was partially I made that was part of my problem as well, because.
Oh, you're gonna blame yourself.
Well, no, I'm part of the problem because I invited him to come over to my house on the first, initially, yeah.
And you did that because you were highly attracted to him.
Well, we had been it was during COVID, and you couldn't get on the island. The bridge was blocked, so we had chatted for about a week. And like our conversation was really good. His English was super good. We were just, we were chatting various times throughout the day, but we never had a phone call. We never had a video. We were sharing like photos of our daily life. Like we went off the app and shared WhatsApp or something like that. I think WhatsApp or Instagram.
So you're sharing pictures, and you were attracted to the pictures.
Yeah, I was attracted. I was attracted to him. Yes.
She just went, yeah.
Yeah. And then
was there? Just curious, were some of the pictures provocative?
No. No. He was a rock climber, so on his Instagram he had some photos of him like shirtless, but that's not provocative. But he was very strong.
It got your attention.
It got my attention for sure, yeah. So yeah, the island was closed, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh well, maybe I can get on the island because of my scuba dive gear, yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay. He tried one time and he was denied. So then it was like.
So just to put some clarification on this is during COVID.
Yeah.
We live on an island. It was closed off during COVID. So the guy she's dating is like 45 minutes, an hour away. Yeah. He'd have to cross the bridge. He wasn't allowed in. Mm-hmm. So it was a difficult time to date.
Yeah.
Petty Betty says, I never dated a rock climber. Well, here's a story.
Well, we didn't even actually date.
So she's saying that everything was going as good as it could have gone.
But the first part that threw me off was that on one day he didn't tell me he was coming, and then he texted me and he's like, I'm an hour away from your house. And
but you never had planned a date?
No, we didn't.
You don't like spontaneity?
I didn't like the spontaneity. But then I was like, I was doing my thing. It was like Sunday afternoon. To be honest, I was sitting there painting, yada yada, whatever, in my space. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to be here at yours in an hour. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, okay. So then I was like, well, I wanted to meet him, right? So I was like, okay, cool. And he has a garden at his place. So he had like these vegetables he wanted to give me and a few other things. So,
what a romantic. Hey, on the first date, I brought you some fresh vegetables from my garden. That is unique.
Yeah. Morning glories.
Morning glories. Okay.
And I in my head, because we had been chatting and we've been sharing a lot of photos of things that we were doing in our life, not of ourselves, provocative photos of ourselves, but just of everyday life, I felt comfortable and I was like, okay, yeah, we'll just, stop by my house and then we'll go out. But what was weird is that he then showed up at my place without me. I told him I lived on this road, and then I didn't give him my home address, but he showed up in front of my house and he was like, I'm here. And I was like, oh shit. But I told him to come to Soy Ratchetbrook or the soy I live on, and then I'm going to go outside and meet him. And anyway, I'm like, how did you find my house? He was like, oh, well, I could tell from your Instagram photos. And I was like, oh, okay. I still don't know how he could figure that out. But anyway.
Well, I mean, if they're in the background, because where you live, there's different color houses. I guess it could be. I don't think he researched.
No, but it's just
To go that way, yeah, it's creepy a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, but it was high interest. You guys exchanged a lot of contact prior to.
yeah, we did.
So you felt comfortable.
I
You
felt
liked him.
Yeah.
You conveyed that in the messages.
Mhm.
So when he showed up, you were surprised. You weren't really scared.
Yeah, I was surprised. I wasn't scared. I was like, oh my god.
You let him in.
And then we spent the next few hours together and whatever. Okay, we hung out, and so then at the end of the night, I had a good time with him, but I wasn't like, oh
You
my
want to
gosh,
sleep with him.
I'm so into this guy. And so as we're saying goodbye, it's like I'm giving him a hug, and he goes in to kiss me, and I was like, okay, and then I like stopped. We kissed, and then I stopped. And then he wanted to try more, so he was like, "Oh no, like let me keep this." I'm like, "Okay, like yeah."
So
Yeah.
what?
And that just
Are you just not a first kiss date person?
I am, but I wasn't feeling it with him. I wasn't.
Well,
into him.
okay, so this is interesting to the people on the live stream, the people watching the channel.
Really?
No, the reason why it's interesting, because guys want to know, correct me if I'm wrong, and women want to relate. You're 31, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're 31, fairly good looking. I don't want it to go to your head. So,
Jesus.
so you say that about yourself.
No, but I
You
just
said
mean
that
like
yeah,
yeah,
right. So you got the confidence by that, right? So you have options, right?
Yeah.
All right. So that's why you like to cat paw some of these
We
guys.
all
away.
have options.
So I'm saying this guy comes over, you're highly attracted to him. He's a rock climber. He's got a nice.
No. I wouldn't say that I'm highly attracted to him. I would
On a
say
scale
that I'm attracted to him.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what was your attraction to him?
Probably a 7.
You always use the number 7.
No, I don't. No.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll give him a 7.
I'll give him a 7.
Okay.
I
7.
was curious. His pictures weren't too.
If it was school, you'd give him a C on the test.
It was like on some pictures he was a 10, and on other pictures he was like a 6 and a 7. And so I wasn't really sure what was gonna,
Petty Betty says a hard 7. So, so a 7. Okay, I know what you mean. Like you're attracted, but you're not like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wasn't sure because pictures don't always match up to what is the reality.
So the interesting part, a lot of guys at the end of the night are wondering, like, should I make a move? Should I not make a move? Like, where are we at with this? So did you feel like you conveyed, like, I don't really want to, like, I'm not really there?
I was definitely reserved. I was not like, I kept my distance. There was no touching. There was no.
So what would have been a better approach if he
give me a hug and see you later. Well, maybe on the second date we'll kiss.
Okay.
Or probably if it goes well, we will.
If you did,
what's the big deal? If there's a really strong energy, and trust me, you can feel it.
So you didn't feel it.
No.
But he felt it.
I think he was just so wrapped up in his own mind that he wasn't even aware of what was presently happening. And I saw that.
Well, did it feel like he liked you more than you liked him?
Well, yes.
No, it was evident later because I know this story.
Yeah.
It was evident later, but in the moment.
I mean, I think I'm not sure. I mean, he thought.
So do you think that made you more unattracted to him? If he was more like, hey, I'll catch you later, hon, and gave you a kiss on the cheek casually, it would have been like way better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you would have thought like, oh, okay, maybe we can save that for next time.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he went straight for the lips, French.
I don't remember.
He went for a Frenchie.
No, but
Does anyone even use that term anymore? French kissing?
I don't know.
So he goes in for a real kiss though.
But the thing is, I was kind of.
So you kissed him.
I had no choice.
Oh God.
He literally okay, maybe it was faulty when I was like, we're giving a hug, and then he misunderstood. There was some sort
Petty Betty says, because I've done a lot of coaching with Petty Betty before, and she says like bad kissing is really bad. Was he a good kisser?
I don't remember.
She just went.
No, I'm thinking. I don't. It all happened so fast because it wasn't like I sat there in it. It's like it happened, and then I removed myself from it.
It was an open mouth kiss, though, right?
I don't remember there were lips against lips, basically. That's what it was. It wasn't like we sat there for a minute and like held it or like French kiss. No.
So Petty Betty says that means no. LOL.
I was going in to give him a hug goodbye, and I was in no way like facing directly at him. I was like, you give someone a hug, you go like this. Their head's there, your head's here, you go like this. And he was like, I don't know, he just somehow swiveled in.
So she said that she went like this to kiss him, and he swooped in, and then you.
And then I was like, oh. And he's like, oh, okay.
What
Like,
did
he
he?
realized that I didn't want to kiss in the end, and I'm like, okay, see you later. Like, I just wanted him to leave my house, really.
That's when you got.
And it was fun.
Dark Knight says she wasn't into him, plain and simple. But I think you were a bit. You gave him a 7. You invited him to your house. He's a rock climber. He looked good with his shirt off.
I was open to seeing him again.
You were open to seeing him again.
I wasn't 100%
but you wanted
certain on my feelings.
You wanted him to work for it.
I don't know if I wanted.
He wasn't
to
good.
I met him once.
He wasn't good looking enough for you to just go. You know what? Let's go upstairs.
I don't think it has. I don't think it all has to do with his looks. It was just the energy that we had between us.
Mm.
If he was super attractive, more so than he even was, maybe. But honestly, I'm not the kind of person that's like, okay, let's go hook up on the first date. I need to get to know someone more.
I got you.
It's as simple as that.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. I'm just asking questions.
Oh, am I getting?
No, not at all. Not at all. So he was too pushy then, is what Derek says in some ways. So that immediately leaves you kind of with a bad taste in your mouth. No pun intended that you had a kiss. So you did like what's interesting about talking about this is someone goes for a situation like that when it doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. It does leave the date kind of like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. That was just the tip of the iceberg.
Would you say that talking in terms of just dating, is a guy better off if he senses that not going for a kiss, accepting the hug, and then that would make you more attracted for the next date, that he was understanding of the situation where he didn't create an awkwardness?
Sure. I mean, maybe then I would then be looking forward to that in the next date. So I just don't think there's such a hurry. It's like,
okay, so and that's your own morals and values and principles. Yeah. And were you guys drinking alcohol?
No.
Okay, so that's a big reason why too.
He's not.
That usually greases the wheels for everyone. It does. It does. It's true. It's true. I mean, I remember there's like different phases where I've just gone like, oh, I'm not going to drink for a while, right? Like I'm not going to drink for a while. And I definitely notice when I'm in phases like that and I'm dating, that it just loosens everyone up when you have a few drinks. It's like people let their guard down when they have a few drinks. Yeah. So when you don't really drink, I think especially in a date, we could call this kind of a blind date in some ways because you don't know the person that well. Like you never knew him before.
No. Well, that's all dating app dates then.
Yeah, all the dating apps would be blind dates. So that happens. You're left like that. You're kind of like, he's cool. He's a 7. That was an awkward moment at the end. Maybe we'll talk again. The door's not closed, but I'm not too excited. But he was cool, kind of a thing. Like I'll go out. You go out with him again, right?
So then what happened was the next day he messaged me and he was like, "Can I see you again? Can I?" Like he wanted to come back immediately, and I was like, "Whoa, we just met yesterday. Like, yo, give me some." I'm not the one that's like, I have my life. I'm doing things. I don't want to like go on a date, the next day after I met you the day before.
Have you ever had a guy you dated that did that and you liked it?
I don't think so.
So many guys are out there listening to this and they're like, should I call her the very next morning and ask her? So
some girls like that,
There are some needy types, right? Let me ask you this though. This is an interesting side question of this. Let's say that you do hook up with someone because you have had a one-night stand in your life. We don't need to go into that, but you have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yes.
Right?
I have.
Right? So I have too. And you're like, the next day and when I say one-night stand, it just means you hooked up maybe the first time you met. Would that classify as a one-night stand?
That's it.
Yeah. So you hooked up. The next day, if the guy doesn't call you for a couple of days, are you pissed? Or if the guy calls you the next morning, is like, hey, that was great last night. Are you like, isn't that interesting?
That's tough water to tread because sometimes
depends on the woman, huh?
It depends on the woman. It depends on the connection. It depends. There's a lot of factors.
Because sometimes a one night stand, you're like, I don't want to talk to you again, but it was good.
Yeah.
You're like, that's just what I needed, but I don't want to hang out with you again.
Yeah, I think. Like you feel some people might feel like they've read the situation really well and they send a text and it's well received or it's not well received, but you just either way if you want to put yourself out there, you just need to be ready for whatever you're going to receive back, whether it's good or bad.
So if a guy was to send that, so just for the most part, after you have a date or you meet up, wait a day or two. Someone was just telling me, a woman I respect that's a catch was just telling me that she said that she really doesn't like it when guys. She really doesn't like it when guys that you're starting to see each other, and he's just like, "Hey, how's your day?
Mm.
Hey, good morning.
Mm.
Just saw the sun come up." She's like, "You don't need to text me all that shit."
Mm.
Would you say that's true? Does that make it?
That also, I find.
I thought it was
annoying.
funny. Well, there you go. I find that annoying because she's like, I don't want to talk about how good a morning it was.
It's like you're on your phone too much.
Ah.
And then they like, I feel like they also want to respond. They also want to reply from you. And if you don't reply to them, then they're like, oh, how come she's not ready? Does she like my messages? Or then
it comes off needy.
Yeah.
And it has no point, right? Like, in other words, like, hey, how's your day going?
Mm.
Is it trying too hard rather than, hey, I wanted to see you later on this week? Is that cool? That's a much better approach.
For me, I would appreciate that. But some girls, I think, would appreciate someone checking in or just sending a little message every day to know that they're thinking about you. Or
individually
maybe
based.
It doesn't have to be like, hi, good morning, but you can send like something funny, or it doesn't have to be so routine, like, oh, good morning, beautiful day.
That's what she told me.
Good night, sleep tight. It's like,
she's like, I just hate when that happens. It's just like, stop texting me all the time.
Yeah.
I think that guys do that sometimes once they sleep with a woman and they like her, and they somehow think like, okay, I need to be sweeter. But I think a lot of women are turned off by that sometimes. But individually based. So let's circle back. Jessica has her Tinder date. The guy sneaks in a little light French kiss. She's not receptive, but she's not angry though. At the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, no, but okay. We've had enough of a connection. Like, I'll see you again in the future. He texts her the next morning at the crack of dawn, 7 a.m., 8 a.m.
I don't know. I think he texted me that night when he left. He's like, thanks so much. And then the next day he writes me and he's like, oh, I want to come back to Phuket. I want to see you. Like, when are you free? And he wanted to come, like, I think he wanted to come back that next day. I can't remember. It was like that next day or the day after, but it was instant.
And you were thinking, pump the brakes, please.
I was like, yeah, brakes. And then in the end, he's like, oh, he didn't understand why I wanted a few days before we met up again.
He asked that?
Yeah, he was like, well, why? He was, I can't remember how it all went. It was like, and then in the end, I had to explain to him that I just need a little bit of time. I had to tell him that I wasn't ready for a kiss, to like make him fully understand. I'm like, listen, I just want to, like, let's meet later. And then it was like literally the next morning after we had this conversation, and I said, no, I don't want to see you. Not that I don't ever want to see you again. I don't want to see you tomorrow, when he had wanted to come over. So I'm in the morning this is COVID, where we have to exercise in our home. So I'm doing my exercise between 7 and 8 a.m. And I see his car around 7:30 pull up in front of my house. And I was like, oh my God. Why? Why is he here at my house at 7:30 in the morning?
Just too different.
So we had it one day, Monday, having the communication text. And he wants to see me on Tuesday, and I say no. And then I'm exercising Tuesday, and in the morning at 7:30, I see him pull in front of my house. So then I close my house door. I'm like, because I don't want him to see me exercising there. And anyway, then I see him like hovering around. He's waiting there for a while. I get some text messages, and then he leaves some food in front of my house. And I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Wait, so you didn't open the door?
I'm doing my exercise class. I didn't open the gate. So I haven't even opened my gate for the day yet. I'm just in the living room.
Okay, so just to give clarification on our house, no one's going to go there. No one's going to know the location. But it's like a small kind of townhouse with a metal type gate that you could lock. That's probably like 6 feet tall. I don't know. I mean, 183 centimeters for the people in the other countries. And so you couldn't just go in and go to the door.
No.
So is he like?
He parked in the front bit where there are trees, so you can't even really see.
What a crazy move! And you had told him like, no, you don't need to come.
I specifically said no. I said no. I just don't understand. It's like you say something and it's just not received. Like he just didn't. He wasn't.
So this is interesting. Just to jump in here, me being a coach and doing live coaching sessions and talking to people out of breakups, and then a lot of people talk to me about dating. I don't consider myself necessarily a dating coach, but I'm happy to help and listen. But sometimes I'm like, are you listening?
Mm.
Like, are you listening when someone says they don't want to see you? You are, just because they don't want to see you and you want to see them, that's where it's not miscommunication. Now you're not just being annoying. Now it's like you're disrespecting what I actually told you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when you said that too, you're like, I told you I didn't want to see you.
Mm-hmm.
You show up 7:30 a.m. at my fucking gate. So you're so at this point you're flattered.
Oh, I was just, any chance of us meeting up again was out the window. There was just no way I was ever going to, that was just already, I was like, damn it, I've really made a big, big mistake here by showing him where I lived in the first place.
So
he never did come back ever after that. I told him how I was really upset with that. And he had, as you know, he left me many things other than just food. And he
left you food that day at your gate. So,
yeah,
so did he call you like I'm in front right now?
No, he sent me messages. And so then when I finished my class, so he stayed there for about 15 minutes and then he left. I finished my class and then I went outside and there was like a coffee and I don't know, some sort of curry or something.
That's so random as a gift.
It was like
coffee and curry?
It was like a massaman curry.
A massaman curry. That's a...
And he was like, I got you a local coffee with no sugar. So anyways, then he comes back. He came back. And so when he came back, I went outside. I was like, hey, like, what are you doing here? I told you, like, I didn't want to see you. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just really needed to give you this. So he gave me, like, a drawing and a rose. And I can't remember if there was a poem on the paper or the poem was in the text messages. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He left me a few things to be like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to kiss you. I just couldn't. I couldn't resist. Yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, you know, just like, see you later.
We're done.
And then he then sent me a lot of text messages after that.
Explaining.
Yeah. And I was just like, listen, man, this is just... And then for like the next week, I kept being paranoid, looking around, like looking for his car.
And this is the kind of thing that made you stop being on Tinder.
Then I deleted
So
Tinder.
you blamed... You blame Tinder.
I blame Tinder, even though never again will I ever bring anyone over to my house.
For a first date.
Yeah. So it was a lesson, but it was also I got frustrated.
You know what's funny about that as a male, as a guy though, guys would be like, oh, you can come to my house on the first date.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I guess.
I think it's just because I'm like a young woman living by myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you should. I think you should be aware of it. And I think that a situation like that, you should be a little bit scared and on your toes about it. But like, it sounds like I'm sitting here laughing and stuff. The guy really liked you.
Yeah.
He really liked you. He doesn't sound harmful, but his feelings got out in front of him. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you're probably a good kisser.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Because 2 days later, he shows up back in the morning with a curry and a coffee.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So after that, you kind of took a break from the dating apps and stuff like that. And so now, since then, you said it was kind of funny because before we came on live, she started checking a dating app that she's on right now. And she said she hadn't checked it for a while. And what was it? You don't have to say the guy's name or anything, but you're like, look, you're like, here's so-and-so. And it's like some guy like working out with like tattoos and dyed hair and like, and she's like, see, like, see, it's like, but we were talking about like in this social media phase of the world, some people like those kind of pictures, right? One thing that just makes me cringe in the world of internet is stock photos. Like when someone has that on their website or something, I'm just like, like a couple in the wind, like holding hands, running, and you just know that that's some photo off of Google. I'm just like, oh, there's no naturalness to it, and I think that some people's Instagram or their what would you call it? Their
social media.
Well, their Tinder. So that
Oh.
that wouldn't be social media. I guess their dating app pictures. Is it like a turn off when you say like this guy's just trying way too hard? Is that what it is? Like when he's in the thing with like, what's up?
God, I think some girls would be really attracted to that, but I'm not. Like it's like when anyone shows their physical power in a way like that, you know, it's I don't know, it's the way that they.
Is it trying too hard?
It's like I guess
because you would say as a woman you'd be attracted to a guy with a.
Yeah, that is attractive.
Like I'm a guy, and if a woman has a good looking body or something like that, and she shows it, yeah, I'm not gonna say, oh, I can't stand that, right? I can't believe she showed that.
I guess it's the way that they choose to show it. It seems very like egocentral. So it's not coming. They're not showing. You know, it's a characteristic of them. Like they're proud of the body that they've worked out to have. You know, they're proud of that, so they want to show it. But I just whereas it's different when someone's rock climbing. I'm like, oh, cool, that's a really cool sport. Like you're climbing mountains.
So it's a preference based thing.
It's just
And what does it say to you that someone's a rock climber? That they're different?
They're adventurous. They like nature. They're a bit word extreme.
So I'm sure there's probably a dating app out there that's just for women that like rock climbers.
Well, there's rock climbing here in the south of Thailand. So.
Yeah, maybe you got a niche that you can. Yeah, like you're like, okay, create a dating app that's for rock climbers and surfers or something like that, and like put your profile up.
I'm just comparing that to in terms of showing your physical fitness. That's all. Like he wasn't being like, oh, up in someone's face about like, look at my muscles. Like he was like just doing something where his muscles
were a side piece of it. All right, let me get into the live stream a little bit. I've been neglecting. We've got 11 on deck, 4 likes. Welcome. Leandra, it's always a pleasure. Dark Knight, how you doing? Who can you trust on these apps? Hooking up's okay until you meet a psycho. How do you filter, says Leandra?
I don't know, man.
I don't know if you can filter for it. I mean, you know, you can use your best judgment, but you just have to realize, you know, what I would say as a woman, I'd say pack some fucking mace.
Yeah, right?
Seriously, like my niece is 25, and I always tell her, and she's like, oh, stop. I'm like, you need to get some mace. Like, you know, it's just
so horrible.
You know what I mean? Like, that would be a good thing to start with. Tinder is a waste of time. I used it for about a month just because I was bored during lockdown. Most women on there are either damaged or a pure waste of time.
Well, with a month experience, any more than just 1 month or?
You know, this is the interesting thing about dating apps. Everyone has their own experience, but I think what's underrated is where you're at in the world too. And there are some guys that have a type, right? And so their type might be that harder to find on a dating app, right? There's guys I know that I've coached before that they're older. When I say older, what's older? I don't know. In their 50s, and they've had a girlfriend recently that was like 30. And so when they go on the dating app, they want to find that again, and it's just not as easy to find.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that now they're stuck on the idea that like, I can get young women, which is possible.
Yeah. Women
like older men. That is true. Not always true, but it's probably going to be harder when you're in that big of a sea with a lot more fish. And so that kind of changes things. That's a dark statement, Dark Knight. I'm sorry that's been your experience. What's up, Derek D? Derek D says, hey, Jessica, was the choice of the date place lower his attractiveness?
No.
I think this was in regards to the first guy from the secondhand shop that you were trolling.
Oh, no, actually the place we went to I liked. I thought it was super cool. And I got some cool shots of him with my camera because
Oh, you must have-
the place was cool.
Okay.
It was cool.
So it had nothing to do with the place. I guess it's my location, but I'm more of a people person. Anyhow, lots of profiles and fake, simply not worth the effort in my experience. Anyhow, meeting people in real life is way more interesting and effective. Casually dating 3 girls now. Happy camper. Good for you, Dark Knight. Good for you. I mean, that comes down to the ability to strike up conversation and be open. And Jessica calls it chatty.
Dark Knight is in Cyprus?
Yeah, good memory. Good memory. He is in Cyprus. But he was originally from Montreal. I don't think you mind us sharing that, Dark Knight. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just remember him.
You remember last because he asked you about Canada.
Yeah, and he said
very cool, dude. My mom said women know within 5 minutes of meeting a man, she knows if she's gonna smash or not or date him. Your mom uses the term smash. That's interesting. I've had other women tell me that before too. Do you think that's true? That's a great question to ask a 31-year-old female from Nova Scotia.
I
got to get another camera. She's like,
I'm just thinking. I take a while to,
process.
Come up with my response. I do think that in hindsight, that could be the statistic would be high in that. But I do think that there is chance you can come to like someone and then grow
over time.
Yeah.
I absolutely think the same thing. I think that and I've had, like I said, other women say like, I know if I want to hook up with someone, I know that first. I think that's absolutely true. I do think that there are times when you do meet someone that becomes more attractive. And if that's the case, it's usually someone that maybe upon the first time you met them, you didn't think they were ugly. You thought they were possibly someone that you would quote unquote smash. But you weren't like as keen or that excited about it as you would be some other people. But then over time and over coming across them, a lot of usually this has to do with people you work with or people you go to school with or people you go to the same cafe with. You frequent them, they become more attractive. Whereas if it's just someone you meet, then that's definitely the case. You usually kind of know if that's someone. But I've like I said, I've heard other women say that before. And the other one that always sticks out to me is that women will make it if they like you, they'll make it easy not to hook up but to hang out. It won't be like there won't be a lot of obstacles. Like, oh, I'm busy, I'm this. They're gonna find a way to hang out and go out with you.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. I get it. You pretend to be someone you're not. So how do you trust it? True. Never trust someone you haven't seen in person. I think that you can go into something with an open mind, but that wouldn't necessarily mean you trust them. It's more neutral. Can we hit that like button, y'all? Thank you, Derek G. Todd Whitmore. Would I never date anyone at so pretentious? I would never date anyone so pretentious. I don't know which person we were talking about that was pretentious.
Maybe Blondie and Tattoo Muscle.
Oh, what's up, Rob? How you doing, bud? Petty Betty. I think she said one of the worst was the guy who ghosted her. Was there a guy that ghosted you?
There was a guy who ghosted me.
We talked about that before.
He ghosted me before we even met. Actually, I've had that happen twice.
Did it make you really curious that you wanted to like maybe rehook up with the guy just to prove that?
We didn't even meet. It was that guy from Quebec or somewhere. He was from somewhere in Montreal.
Oh, good memory, Derek D.
Yeah, and I think that's who he's referring to. I said something to him that I guess we talked about this last time. I can't even remember what I said to him. But anyway, he just left.
Here's the crazy thing about your whole perception of the situation. You're assuming it was about that. It could be that he was just like, oh, I got another message from someone else.
It could have been.
This is what we do. We always go like, oh, he was offended by it. It's like, maybe he was, but you don't know.
Yeah, maybe he just found something better.
Yeah.
That I never even thought of that.
See how you automatically like have the story in your head and you're like, well, it could be this. That's why I always tell people to write your story and send it in and unpack it. Because sometimes someone goes, you know what? I've literally had people go, you're right. It could be that. And then it kind of opens your mind up to the idea that like, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. And the idea that I don't know, why don't I just leave it on one of those things that I could deal with better?
Yeah.
The fact that she pulled back and he continued to try, where was his boundary? She's talking about the kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, she didn't, Mac. She's talking about, was it a good kiss?
Oh, yeah, right.
Derek T says the ooey ooey. Was he a good kisser at least? We talked about that already. You didn't really answer, which answered it. That means no. Sounds like she was in shock. Good morning, Scotty Fitzgerald. She wasn't into him, plain and simple. I think you were into him somewhat.
I was on the fence.
Which is kind of a theme for you.
Yeah.
You were the same.
In my online dating experiences.
Mm-hmm. So what's going to turn the corner for you?
I don't know. God. I don't know.
What's the best first date you've ever had? That's actually a good question.
It is. I don't know. I haven't.
Where you're like, wow.
I feel like I have yet to experience the best first date.
Wow. What's the best? Okay, here's one.
Nothing like sticks out on my radar is like the best.
What's the best first kiss you had while dating someone? This is an interesting one. I'm not talking about you in the bar or anything like that, like with a random, like someone you've been dating maybe.
I guess it would probably be my boyfriend from high school. Nathaniel Fell. Sorry.
I told her before we started, I'm like, the one thing you do sometimes is say people's names. I don't have a problem, but I try not to say people's real names. Because, it's, yeah.
I need to put a sign up somewhere.
So that was,
say the name.
So that, you were in high school, and it was just special.
Yeah, it was special. We had a special relationship.
Were you in a field party somewhere?
No. We weren't at a field party.
Was it the location? Or
no, I think it was just him. I liked kissing him. He had very soft lips.
Ooh, okay. So it was everything about it. So he was too pushy then. Sometimes the unexpected kiss that takes my breath away can lead to a second date. LOL. Yeah, because some women say they want a guy not to be pushy, but to go for it. Mm-hmm. Jessica's saying no, not in my house.
I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying it's maybe I'm gonna be the one to make the first move. Okay. For me, it's just really an open book.
Okay, it depends on drinks and alcohol too, probably. If he was hot, how come she didn't want to kiss him? I don't know if 7.
If he was hot, I think
you didn't think he was hot if you said 7. Would hot be a 7?
No, I wouldn't say he was hot. I'd say he was cute. He was good looking, but he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Because I think it's more than just looks that determine whether you kiss someone.
Is that because of your age at 31 now that you think differently, or do you think you'd be different at 21, 22?
I think I would be different, yeah.
And do you think if you had some drinks, you think it would be different too? Mm-hmm. See how like circumstances change everything, right?
Yeah.
Go for you, Jess. Take your time.
Yeah.
And thanks. If he's not up for it, then he's not for you. I would think there's still some level of comfortability required. Sounds like poor rapport. That's a good word, rapport.
Can you explain that for me?
Well, he's saying that. I think he's talking in regards to that last date where the guy he probably didn't know yet that the guy showed up the next day and kind of ruined everything.
Oh, right.
But when you were saying, I don't know what it was, when you're saying the energy was off, he's saying rapport.
Oh, okay.
Which rapport means like you're in sync, right? Like your conversation flows, you talk well, like there's not awkward silences. It sounds like the rapport was off. Daryl Schwanky, alcohol is his best social lubricant. I would probably agree. Rob IS says, go for a 2-night stand. One more time. Hey, good morning. Depends on the context, maybe. When we're talking about if someone calls you the next day.
Yeah. I think it also depends on how the night and how you part ways too. It's like.
Well, that's what Rob said. And the high note thing is what most guys have no clue about. I don't think a lot of people consciously think I'm going to go out of my way to leave a high note. People can portray something over text and social media and be way awkward in person. Texting gives you the time to think and flesh things out. In real time, the wrong response can kill a mood. Yeah, I mean, for me, texting's kind of one of those things. I don't like to text long messages because I didn't grow up texting. So I would rather talk. I almost get annoyed with it if we
Mm.
keep going and like if we keep I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I'm kind of tired of texting now. There's people that can text for an hour,
Yeah.
right? Like they could have a full conversation.
Uh-huh.
You actually do the voice thing with your friends sometimes, right? Which is an interesting way to communicate.
But that's new. That's new for me.
Right. You're saying you send a message with like,
Voice
hey,
recording.
and then it's recorded, and then she comes back, and then that's actually not bad. I'd rather do that than texting. So you're having a conversation with pauses.
Mhm.
I remember a girl telling me she didn't like the fact that I never text her good morning. So that would be a preference thing. Like you said
Yeah.
that earlier. You might have some girlfriends that are like that, and you might, on the other hand, be like, it's fucking annoying.
Mhm.
Unless you have a stage 5 clinger, Rob. I like good morning and good night text, but I'm phone banger, meaning I'm always on the phone. I don't mind the text. A phone banger. I haven't heard of that term. Thanks for putting that on me. He's keen as mustard, Leandra says. I've never heard that term before.
Me either. What's that mean?
Leandra's Australian, so maybe that's some kind of term. I know keen is used quite a bit in Australia.
I use keen a lot too, but I don't know what mustard. So
Mustard is actually used on hot dogs, and you don't know what mustard is?
No, I know what mustard is. I just don't know what it means. And that he's keen.
He's keen as mustard. I haven't heard that before too. It's kind of funny when you have something like this that has international people from different places, and someone says something, and you're like, "What? What does that mean?"
Mhm.
So, if I text good morning, I'm texting you because something crazy happened. If it doesn't, my morning is never any different, and more than likely, neither is yours. I see. That's very open, and that's as clear as mud. Leandra says,
Oh,
and on a different thing. So it sounds like a 5 that never had a 7 or 8 don't know how to deal. I don't know what that's in regards to. Any rule with the first date, meet in a neutral place, protect yourself. That's a good idea,
right.
Jessica.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Pack your mace. Oh, what's up, Fun Sawa? Hey, y'all. How are you? Already an hour in the live stream. You guys are going to bounce soon. We're okay right now. It's 12 o'clock.
Oh, right.
I forgot my phone to check
It's
something.
12:05.
Jess, if you had an Adonis standing in front of you, would you kiss him or is it about chemistry and connection? Keen is mustard. Keen is a mustard brand.
Oh.
What's to talk about at this point in an hour? Well, we have Jessica on, who's a 31-year-old female who's single. She's an artist. She's an inspiring breakup coach herself. And we just talked about her dating apps experiences. So if you have open questions for me or her about dating apps or dating or your experiences or what you do on the first date, or if you just like want to share like an experience you've had that was kind of crazy, I'd have to think myself.
Yeah.
Keen is also a rock band. I've never heard of that.
Oh. Yeah.
But even if it is on point, don't text me a novel. Let's see. We have someone else came on. Lala, I saw you put something here. I just want to say hello. Dating sites are trash, but then again, I'm outgoing and enjoy the chase. I don't think dating apps are trash. I think certain people like them and certain people don't. There's a lot of options. They do work for people.
Like, what are some other popular dating apps around the world other than Tinder? And so I've heard of Hinge. Bumble, but that's for friendship.
You're talking, like I said, I don't go on them, but I'm not against them. I've known people that have met their wives on them and whatnot. Certain people really like them. I mean, here's the thing about them too. Here's what's really interesting is that if you already have a perception of them that's negative, you're going to have a negative experience. And you're going to believe automatically that every person on there is trash because of one prior experience. Just know what you're basing it on. And I've said this many, many times. It's like you're going to open up the floodgates and you're going to have more opportunities, but you're going to have more stuff to sift through. It's going to be work. And so what's the alternative to dating apps? Cold approach, putting yourself in environments where you meet more people that you think you'd like, things like that. But I think what people lose track of sometimes because they go on and they're like, oh, this girl's so pretentious or this guy's so pretentious. And a lot of times the judgment is of someone that looks good that you might not even have a chance with. Right. And you're like, so I think dating in general, which I don't like generalizations, dating in general, are you at your best?
Mm.
Like, are you at a point in your life where you're at a really good point where you feel good about yourself? And I think that people underrate this idea that they have an effect on how they look. Like you hear people go, "Oh, well, this person's just good looking, or this person's just this, or they just go to the gym every day." If you have a problem with the way another person looks, I think that beyond their personality, and you're kind of making shitty comments about them, not just like a joke or this or that. It's like you have to think to yourself, why are you doing that? Because I've done it in my life. And the reality was like, I'm not in really good shape right now. Or it's a little bit jealousy, actually. Now, when someone makes like it is funny, like when Jessica was saying earlier, when some guy's got like tattoos on, he's got fucking dyed yellow, like he's got all these, how should I say, like accessories in his picture. It's trying too hard. But like we said, some people like that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? So I think at the end of the day, you're going to get more action. You're going to get better quality people when you make yourself higher quality. And when you're at a place in your life when you're doing things that increase your value. And I think that people lose track of that. So I've literally had in coaching before, like someone that's overweight, they're not happy with the way they look. And I'm like, look, you got to start with the small things. Go get a haircut. Like it's like some guys will be like, there's a guy I talked to recently. He's like, yeah, man, it's like the COVID, this and that. He's got like, I'm not someone that's like a fashion police, and I don't think I dress great or anything like that. But like, there are times in your life where you just don't care that much, and it shows, right? And you're like, I'm like, dude, you got like a patchy beard. Your hair's all fucked, like
sweatpants.
Yeah. It's just like you're probably not going to catch a lot of fish with that approach. And so you're thinking like, oh yeah, the dating apps suck. Yeah, this sucks. It's like, are you putting in the effort to look your best? Looks aren't everything. Well, they count. Well, I don't look good. Well, are you looking your best? Like, are you doing small things to look better? It's like, are you going out and taking a shower before you leave the house and putting on some deodorant and actually maybe putting on a spritz of cologne, or like these little things kind of add up, right? And I think that sometimes people like just disregard them as like, oh, this guy thinks he's so great. And it's like, why are you saying that though? Because you're basically saying the person's better than you in a negative way. So Daryl Schwanke says, I grew up in BC. I now live in the States, but women from the North have much more traditional values. The lower 48 were raised with the Jersey Shore version of life.
The lower 48.
I think that's the states.
Oh.
I think it's the 48 states below.
So
right. So I would say that Jessica would be one of the northern women.
Well, I am.
You're a northern woman with much more traditional values. Sure. Yeah. Are you proud of that?
Sure.
Okay, good. Yeah, that was the one where she thought she felt some type of way about an offhand statement about Quebec, thinking it was a big city, something of the nature. Kimberly Lusby. I went on a first date with a guy. We had a great time, and then he ghosted me. I never heard from him again. The kiss was amazing. So you had a good time. Maybe he didn't have a good time. So you perceived it as a great time. But I'm glad that was it. Never heard from him again.
Just never know sometimes.
Sometimes it's not personal. My voice texts come out on point, I guess because I know what I'm saying, says Petty Betty. Already an hour in the live stream. You guys are going to bounce soon. No, we're not. Jess, if you had an Adonis, you didn't really answer this question. Do you know what an Adonis is?
No, can you help me?
Adonis is a famous Greek statue, right?
Oh, okay.
Meaning like you had an extremely good-looking man. Would you just kiss him?
We're just in passing on the street.
Jess, if you had an Adonis standing in front of you, would you kiss him, or is that about chemistry and connection?
I still think it's about chemistry and connection.
Okay. Keen as mustard basically sounds like dumb as a doorknob or not the sharpest knife in the kit. Okay. You're feisty, MSS. I'll make sure I'll keep it short with you. I guess if I was single, I'd use an app, but I don't know. I honestly think I'd join a meetup group that was hobby focused and try to meet people. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think that's overrated and
that's a good idea.
or underrated, excuse me. Join. I've said yoga or something like that before because you're in a group that's calm, healthy individuals that are into good things in life. So like that would be an example of that.
Yeah.
I've known people that have been in yoga groups that have met great women. Keen is a brand name of mustard in Australia. That way, instead of dating app per se, I think you'll meet your match when you're having fun and vibing high in your element. And what's nice about that, Feng Shui, it's an alternative to bars. I think that when you're young, we get kind of hoarded into because I think popular culture, movie and TV, this is what you do when you're in college and whatnot. And actually, I've talked about this before. And I mean, everyone's different. I'm a social person. I like social events. I don't like large drunk crowds, but I do like to drink sometimes. But like drunken, crazy crowds, like lively clubs of like hundreds of people, I don't really like it. You know why?
I don't know why.
Because you can't really have a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, like I've left places like that, and I'm like, my fucking throat hurts because I was talking the whole night at the top of my lungs, trying to talk. Like to me, and I guess I'm just not into dancing that much. That's probably why.
Clubs are kind of like the in-person Tinder. It's like you're not really going there to have a conversation with someone.
But I mean, for me personally, it's never been. It's like do that 10 times, and maybe 2 times are a lot of fun for me. And maybe like 3 times are okay. And then like 5 times it's a bust. It's like, let's just go home, whatnot. I definitely don't do those days anymore very often. But when someone invites me to do something like that, I'm like, no. But I think a lot of people are like, when they're younger, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to meet someone there. Yeah, that's like a one night stand kind of thing. But as you get older, I suppose that there's some pubs, restaurants, sports bars where you can meet.
Yeah.
Where you can meet someone. But to dial that in, thank you, Petty. Want to say more? Can talk it over a beer. Good point. I prefer to meet people in person. You don't get the facade and pretty angles. It's raw.
Right. That's true.
I have better game shopping for squash rather than a dating profile. I'm confused. I have better game for shopping for squash.
Shopping for squash.
Can you elaborate, Daryl Swanky? My last two boyfriends I met online, and the one before the last 2 is the one that walked into my life. Literally walked into a salon I was working at. Well, Petty Betty, you are a sweetheart, so it's not surprising. I work in a warehousing, and some people question why I wear makeup to work, but it's just me. I like to look my best. It makes me feel good. There you go. That's my point. Just because you work at a place like that doesn't mean you don't have to look your best and possibly meet someone. Funchwa says, anyone catch Cobra Kai on Netflix? Imagine someone going from Eli Moskowitz to Hawk. It actually really worked for him for the best. I don't know what that means. Cobra Kai, I think is I don't know that show, but I'm thinking of the original Karate Kid from the 80s. Hawk is a great character. I haven't seen that, so I don't know what that's about. Greek god, she says about Adonis.
Right.
Shape your future, says Rays, because Mac loves to talk. That's an understatement. Maybe that's it.
They know.
It's like when I've been a teacher and there's a student in class that talks a lot, and I say, hey, look, I was the same way, but you do need to be quiet. But I would recommend in the future that you become the teacher because that's when you always get to talk. You always have the floor. And they look at you, they're like, I don't know if I want to be a teacher. I'm like, well, I'm just telling you, if you like to talk, you get the floor. Good for you, Jess. You've got substance. Looks aren't everything, but they're something.
But they're not everything.
Brand new Scanner, Chicago's finest. How are you, buddy? SMS production. I binged it over the weekend. I'm a Karate Kid fan, though. I was pleasantly surprised with the reboot. It worked out perfectly. I was just talking about Karate Kid. I actually just on my Coach Mac McCarthy Instagram, I did the Danielson, the Swan.
Oh,
What is it called? No, the crane. And someone was like, "Oh, it's balanced, right?" or whatever. And I'm like, "No, that's the Karate Kid. It's the crane." You didn't even see the Ace Karate Kid, huh?
I might have.
Danielson,
I know it, but I don't. Maybe a
paint the
long
fence.
time ago.
Paint the fence. And he's like, okay, Mr. Miyagi. The weird thing is this guy, Caruso. It's like that movie was huge. The guy in Karate Kid you thought would be like an 80s actor that was popular. That was his only movie besides My Cousin Vinny, if you guys remember that one. Did you ever see My Cousin Vinny with Joe Pesci? I'm not surprised. Daryl Schwenke, I have worked as an LEO. I don't know what LEO is, Leo, for over a decade, and there is a way more bizarre and crazy shit that happens in a bar in 3 hours. Is Leo a part of a bar?
I'm trying to think. So that's. I'm not sure. LEO.
Brand new Sealer said, can't stay on for long, but digging the intros to your videos. But if I could make a suggestion, you can always make a suggestion. I don't mind. I got thick skin. You could make the transition from intro to video more seamless. It just kind of starts. Hope your day is good. Thanks, bud. I'll see if I can work on that. The fact that it took me 3 years to actually get a trailer is, but we're working on that. I got a camera guy right now that's a good friend of mine. He's doing really good things and he's improving. So I can't do the bar scene anymore, especially at my age. How old are you, Derek? I mean, I can do a bar scene. I just don't want to do a club scene. I think when someone wants to meet up at like a club with a group, I'm like, really?
For women, they go there to dance, but for guys, I think they maybe go there to pick up.
So you still like a club scene?
I don't think so. I haven't been to a club in a really long time.
You know what I mean, though, right? Like,
yeah.
Like I've had sometimes where people are like groups of friends or someone's birthday or something. They're like, "Oh, we're all gonna go to such and such club," and I'm just like, and we'll get a bottle and we'll get this, and I'm just like, oh God. And then you know what I mean? You got to get a bracelet and you got to get patted down to go in. I'm just like, Jesus, like, no, thank you. Can we go to the beach? I mean, Cobra Kai is what we always wanted since a kid. Some people are better in motion than on an app, just viewing their pic or social media. I wouldn't be able to date in that environment. Oh my God, Coach, you got to watch it. Look up Cobra Kai on YouTube. It's now moved to Netflix, but I think you can find all the episodes on YouTube. Get into it. As a Karate Kid fan, you'll enjoy it. Okay. You know what's funny is I found recently that a lot of stuff on Netflix is just very generically dramatic. You like Netflix quite a bit. You're a Netflix person, aren't you?
I would say I'm an okay. I haven't watched a lot.
I'd say my most recent show, and I haven't watched a lot of Netflix. The most recent show that I really liked was the Brazilian show. You said you liked it too.
I liked that show. That was probably the same.
What do you think it's? What is it called?
I'm
trying to blank.
Ipanema Girls or something. Yeah, it's like a weird. It's the name of that town.
Ipanema Girls.
Ipanema.
It's a show. It's based in Brazil, and what's the
Ipanema Girls? They were in Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro. It's during the 60s or 50s or 40s.
Late 50s, early 60s.
And it's got that kind of music bump. What's the music called?
Bossa Nova.
Bossa Nova music. And it's just cool because of the furniture and the setting. And it's basically a soap opera.
Yeah. It's
a soap opera, but it's just really well done.
They're just recounting that time.
Really good looking women. And that's probably my favorite one that I've seen this term. I can pick a woman up in the vegetable aisle. Okay.
That's what he meant by squash, right?
But a dating app, it's where you can get to the show up to date sober. I've had over 20 dates meeting online, never ended well. Interesting.
I know one person who got married from their Tinder date.
I know one person that got married through an online dating service. And it was good in the beginning. I wouldn't say it's very good now.
Well.
But I don't know which one it was. I love squash and pumpkin. Good for you. Leo, law enforcement officer. Oh,
law enforcement.
Okay. I think Daryl means he sucks at dating profiles. He could. I mean, that is we talked about that earlier before we talked on the air. That putting together a good dating profile, and Jessica and I know someone that put together a professional one and spent money on it. We were talking about this,
Yeah, okay.
and got a full on expensive photographer, and he pulls women from his social media from it. And Jessica was saying, like, I feel like a lot of people could do that because there's a lot of individuals that are looking for flashy pictures and whatnot. But I was saying that this individual that we're talking about also has a lot of money, and so they're attracted to that too. But the profile, I suppose, counts. Do you think so?
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious.
I must be getting old. I can hardly see this dang chat. Well, glasses. Law enforcement. So you're a law enforcement officer? Okay, man. Derek nailed it. 34. Derek, 34. The 18 and 23 makes me feel powerless-ish. And the 40-plus ladies dressing 23 makes me depressed. So you want someone your age? Is that what you're saying? Makes me feel. Oh wait, 18 to 23 makes me feel prowler-ish.
Prowler-ish. 18 to 23. Yeah, 18's a bit young.
What would be your age range? Jessica, you're 31. Do you have like a cutoff where you're like, oh, he's 50?
Yeah. No, I'm probably a few years younger than me, and then I'd go up pretty far. Not beyond 45.
I think men have a different age gap on that too. Yeah, but it definitely. I think once you get past 30, your maturity level when you're around people in their early 20s, you feel it. You're like, okay, you could feel like a total lack of life experience by a few conversations. You're like, okay, now I feel old. When like I thought you were pretty mature, and then they say something like, okay, yeah. Sounds like you still collect stickers. You can go on the website Fiverr and get someone to write a dating profile for you.
Right.
I always wanted to try out those limit blind dates, like from 40-year-old virgin, just to say I did it. I try to play it twice a week. All right, we're at 1 hour, 18 minutes. Do you guys have any closing questions? Women have a shelf life. Men do not have the same restraint, in my experience. I don't know. I've seen some women that I find highly attractive in their 40s and 50s.
Hey, we don't all wither away.
Someone's gonna go 50s? It's like I've seen women that I think that still look damn good. I do think men probably, I guess, age better. Jessica's like, that's not a fair statement. Yeah, Jessica's at 31, so she's not.
I don't know. I don't really believe that.
I don't think so too. Going back to yoga, if you've ever done yoga, there's a lot of women in yoga that look damn good.
I think it just depends who your circles of people are and where you live.
Yeah. And
I've also seen some older women.
You know what counts? Like I've always say this is a broken record environment. When I lived in Southern California, I lived in San Diego. I mean, there was women there that were very good looking that were older for sure. Age better? FunSpot says, "Excuse me, coach, no." Okay.
Well, that's pretty.
This is just something that the popular narrative would be. There's a guy that could be 60 that could easily be with a 30-year-old. Not everyone finds it socially acceptable, but it's much more common than a woman 60 with a 30-year-old man.
But that's just because of the roles that women.
It's generally money based too, right?
Yeah, I mean it's technically like a power play. So you have men in these financial roles, and you have women. I think it's an old way of thinking. You've got women at home taking care of the kids. Nowadays, that's just not the case.
I just had a client that I believe he's 34 or 35. He lives in Southern California, and we had done a lot of live coaching together. And he had gotten to a point where he was back on deck, and he was actually already into yoga and whatnot. And he ended up dating his instructor, who was 45, and he was 34, 35. And they're together now, and they have and he was yoga instructor. So I your lifestyle and everything counts.
I know this guy who's a trainer, fitness trainer, and he's 27, I think, 26 or 27, and he's dating a woman that's mid 40s.
Oh yeah, that's
and they're both very, very into fitness, right? So she does yoga, and they do like, I don't know what kind of workouts you would call it. It's not like CrossFit, but
it counts.
it's like hit classes, and yeah, I mean, she's super fit. Does she have Botox? Yes.
Would you do Botox?
I'm leaning towards no.
But you don't know if you would.
I don't want to.
People I know in their 40s that look really young, though, they admit later on. I told you before, I was like, oh, yeah, probably got some work done. He's like, no, but I've done Botox. I'm like, isn't that work?
That's work, man.
You're
manipulating your face through like some.
I'm like, I didn't mean to offend you, but obviously, like, when you look that much younger, right? Like, there's something, no, but I've gotten Botox. It's like, okay, you can manipulate it, right? I don't know my coach wife. Okay, I'm confused. Who was always very cute with a great body, but as they got older, she looked like she got younger, and I call him old just to piss him off. I've never seen a 6-year-old with a 30-year-old here. I suppose it happens from time to time. It does. Any 6-year-old male, female with someone 30 years old, there's a dynamic there at a point where we assume the 30-year-old was with the geezer strictly for money anyways.
Yeah, basically.
What gets me like doing the live coaching though, is like the amount of people that have an age gap. It's not that it's impossible. It just works against you long term. That's all. That's all my point is that it can work. It can definitely work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that relationships are already hard as they are. I think the bigger the gap is, if it's over 10 years, I think it gets tougher. But in the moment, you can have a great relationship for 2, 3, 4 years, probably. I mean,
yeah.
you can have a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Pitt is like 55 though, isn't he? He's fine as hell though, she writes. I mean, Brad Pitt, you got to keep in mind, this goes back to like what people don't realize about actors and actresses, right? First of all, we don't really know what they look like in person. I think that gets lost. And let's go back to the one night stand thing. If you've ever had a one night stand, or you've hooked up with someone and you hooked up with them at a bar or something, and you wake up the next morning, you're like, holy shit. You're just like, Jesus Christ. Like you don't have any eyebrows. It's like, oh my God. I woke up one time, I'm like, where's your eyebrows, huh? It's like she colored in her eyebrows, and I was just like, fucking news to me, dude. Like, whoa. Daylight came down, and I was like, oh my God. The term night and day was like night and day. It was, and so with movie stars, with all their photos and all the different things, like you don't really know what they look like. But on the flip side, it's their job to look good. It's like playing sports, right? It's your job to be in shape. Like your job is to go to the gym, eat well, be healthy, and look your best. That's your job. If you got paid a lot of money to do it, you have no excuse not to go. And like you look at an actor or an actress, they do everything. They get a fucking $200 haircut every week. They get a tanning bed. They get their teeth whitened 5 times a year. You know what I mean? So they do everything. And then you meet people like that in person. Sometimes you're like, wow, you're trying really hard. Like there's people like that sometimes, right? That you're like,
yeah.
That are like that. There's a lot of Photoshop on celebrities. Yeah, I think that's correct, Eric. Mm-hmm. Plus, we are conditioned to see them as flawless and highly attractive, because I know a couple of couples like that. Stifler's mom is still hot as fuck. She has to be in her late 50s. You're talking about American Pie, if you remember that. I always thought Nadia was pretty damn pretty. Okay, folks, we're going to close it out. This was really good. Thank you for the likes. I will be back on tomorrow at 8 p.m. Indochina time. I don't know what the topic is. I actually forgot. You can go to Coach Mac McCarthy for my Instagram if you want to follow. If you want to get a live coaching session, go to rightmac.com. Otherwise, have a good one. It's curtains.